What's up, guys? This is Chris Sarai bringing another edition of the Car Concierge Show, the show that helps with the buying, selling, maintaining, and repairing of all of your vehicles. On today's show, we had planned to really dive into the Detroit Auto Show, do a full segment on that, but of course there's something more important and more tragic going on, that is the California wildfires out in LA. So real quick, we'll just dive into the Detroit Auto Show for a hot second, talk about Bill Ford, and then we're going to go knee deep into the California wildfires and, see as much as we can how it's going to affect the automotive industry. Okay, so first off, we're going to talk about Bill Ford, CEO at the Ford Motor Company. He's had some interesting things to say at the Detroit Auto Show. Talked about EV situation, making more vehicles more cost effective as well. But one thing that really caught my eye was his speak about him talking with President-elect Trump and the future of the Ford Motor Company as it comes to President Trump and his move into office. So we're going to check that out. We're going to check out something he said, and then we're going to read a quick article on him saying that the company is looking to have a seat at the table. So let's check out what he said at the Detroit Auto Show first, and then we're going to read a quick article.
I talked to the president-elect last week, and he's very aware of how we feel. And look, we're not going to win absolutely everything, but he clearly understands the importance of the industry. He loves Ford. He loves the fact that we're the most American car company, and so I expect we're going to have a very good relationship with him.
Do you see another advisory council like Trump had before?
We didn't talk about that. I mean, it's possible, but I'm not sure he needs it because, his first term, this whole industry was brand new to him. But now that he's been president and, he's had, a few years now to think about the importance of a strong industrial base, his knowledge today is way superior to what it was when he came in the first term. And the other thing is, he already knows me, he knows Mary at GM, and so I think that'll be very helpful too, that he's got two people in the industry that he has familiarity with, and I'm sure he feels he can call.
More importantly, he has two people that are heads of the three U.S. automakers that we always talk about. GM, Ford, we got to talk about Chrysler and Chevrolet and GMC and all that kind of stuff. But he's already has personal knowledge, and he already has a friendship with Bill Ford and Mary Barra of GM. So this is all great things coming into the new year for us in the automotive industry, to hope that the president will use these relationships to kind of persuade these companies to do certain things to make their companies better, to make companies here in the U.S. better. But let's continue. We're going to check out an article that was, of course, our favorite, Automotive News. And they're talking about what Bill Ford has been saying lately, specifically about having a seat at the table when it comes to Trump's administration. Let's check it out. All right, so, of course, Automotive News, and this is straight from the Detroit Auto Show. Bill Ford, confident automaker, will have seat at the table under Trump after call with President-elect. And that's pretty much from that interview we just watched. And this is from Michael Martinez, January 9th. An unexpected phone call from President-elect Donald Trump last week left Ford Motor Company Executive Chair Bill Ford feeling confident about the incoming administration's commitment to the U.S. automotive industry. We had a long conversation, Ford told reporters January 9th on the sidelines of the Detroit Auto Show. He clearly understands the importance of our industry and of Ford and the industry. I know he wants to be helpful to us. I feel very confident going forward. Ford will have a voice and a seat at the table. Trump at times has had a tense relationship with Ford Motor. He once attacked it over a plan to move some vehicle production to Mexico that it later abandoned in 2019, criticized Ford for not backing his first administration's attempt to roll back Obama-era fuel efficiency rules. The two could soon again clash over electric vehicle incentives, which Trump has proposed eliminating as well as the tariffs that Trump has threatened to impose on U.S. imports from Canada and Mexico, where Ford has a number of plants. Ford, a noted environmentalist who said the EV tax credits are important, said Trump is very aware of how the company feels. Look, we're not going to win absolutely everything, he said. He clearly understands the importance of the industry. He loves Ford. He loves the fact we're the most American car company. I expect we're going to have a very good relationship with him. Ford said Trump made clear he wants to help U.S. workers, and he feels the president-elect has a better understanding of automotive business than when he first entered the White House in 2017. His first term, this whole industry was brand new to him, Ford said. Now that he's been president, had a few years now to think about a strong industrial base. His knowledge today is way superior when he came in the first term. All right, so yeah, exactly pretty much what they said in the interview. But yeah, so the idea, and this is all great stuff for U.S. automakers. You know, Bill Ford understands a lot of things, but of course, as the article said, Ford has a lot of factories over in Canada and Mexico, and they're relying a lot on these places for their parts and their cars. So we got to put an end to that. That's the ideas that, you know, Trump is talking about. That's the ideas that I believe in as well. You know, we have to go back to a world where our stuff is made in-house. We have to build more factories for our companies here. And if it's to the point of getting rid of or downsizing factories in other countries, you know, it might be necessary, because we've completely and utterly relied way too much of the imports of these things into our country. You know, we can't rely on that anymore. We have to build our country up. We're losing too much money on the you know, we're sending too much money out. We're just sending way too much money out to these countries. We're spending way too much money on, you know, paying or the factories that, you know, we're not making money off these factories that these other countries have. You know, and to some degree maybe Ford is, but to some degree they're not. And trust me, I understand the concept that to have those factories here would be more expensive. I know that is the caveat, that is what forced or what prompted these companies to build these factories elsewhere. You know, cheaper labor, cheaper facility, cheaper overhead. I understand that point. So, and what we really have to understand is that, you know, we have to buy by the time, and if we have to bring those factories back here, we have to put them in places where, you know, it can be very economical. It could be beneficial not only to the U.S. but to company. You know, I would not have any problem with incentives on bringing these factories back here. That would be a big point in it. You know, help with those type of things, because we have to build up our country back again. We've fallen on extreme hard times, and a lot of that hard times is the lack of, you know, relying on ourselves to grow. So, and there's a lot of important stuff that I really want to get into about the Detroit Auto Show, and, you know, incentives on you know, bringing, you know, hiring tech workers from the U.S. and all of these. There's a lot of great things that happen at the Detroit Auto Show that I want to touch on, that would show that, though, at the very least, some people in the U.S. automotive industry are understanding that we have to build from an American base. You know, incentives to get people or get students to go not only into STEM but into technologies that, you know, so they can start building batteries more frequently here in the U.S. All that kind of thing was talked about at the Detroit Auto Show. A lot of awards given out and stuff like that, but we'll dive into that a little bit later, okay? So, all right. Let's kick it in. We're going to just talk about the wildfire situation. It has been going on for quite some time. Of course, I live out here in California, but I live on the Central Coast, so I'm not anywhere near where the fires are right now. Thank God. I have a lot of friends out that way, showing me pictures of the red skies and the smoke, and talking about the smoky conditions. I got a couple friends that work at dealerships out there. Some dealerships have been closed, due to all the smoke in them. A couple of dealerships have burnt down. Not a lot. They haven't spoken a lot about a lot of dealerships that burnt down, but I know that there were a couple. So let's jump into it. We're gonna read a quick story about some dealership closures. One dealer loses his home, and then we'll go into what the mayor of one of the cities that's on fire says, and then we'll just keep it moving. Okay. All right. So of course, automotive news. California wildfires prompt dealership closures. One dealer loses home. This is written by Riley Hodder from January 10th. Some Los Angeles area auto dealers have paused operations out of concern for the multiple wildfires blazing across the region. The fires have moved through more than 45 square miles of land, burning 13,000 structures and putting about 179,000 people under evacuation orders, according to the Los Angeles Times, prompting auto dealers to temporarily close. LA Car Guy, a dealership group in the Los Angeles area, on January 9th closed 7 Santa Monica locations and 1 Hollywood dealership because of the fires, according to a LinkedIn post. The first of the fires began January 7th, created by the dry, windy weather in the Los Angeles area. The largest, the Palisades fire, has covered over 31 square miles, destroying as many as 10,000 structures. According to the Times, it is expected to be the costliest fire in U.S. history. Firefighting teams expect the wind and dry conditions to continue in the coming days, which might complicate containment efforts. Brett Sutherland, CEO of the Sutherland Automotive Group, lost his home in the Palisades fire, according to a LinkedIn post. We will be going through a lot over the next few weeks and deal with the loss of our beautiful home and neighborhood, he wrote in the post. Automotive News couldn't immediately reach Sutherland by phone or email for comment. Group 1 Automotive Inc., with 10 California locations and one of the largest dealership groups in the country, closed its Mercedes-Benz store in Beverly Hills on January 9th and January 10th, according to the group spokesperson. AutoNation Inc. on January 9th said that none of its dealerships in Los Angeles County had been affected by the fires, but that they continue to monitor the situation, according to a spokesperson. Matthew Phillips, CEO of CarPros Automotive Group, told Automotive News in an email that his CarPros Kia Glendale store is about 4 miles from the closest evacuation area for the Eaton fire. We haven't had any direct damage from the fires, but we have experienced power outages and smoke. Our hearts go out to all of our employees, customers, and the community members that have been impacted by this unthinkable tragedy. The fires motivated one dealer in the Los Angeles to take action. Rob Hernandez, president of Camino Real Chevrolet in Monterey Park, east of Los Angeles, and chairman of the California New Car Dealers Association, is working with other Southern California Chevy dealers to provide first responders with supplies. The dealers are providing things such as food, water, and masks, Hernandez said. I have a friend, he's a general manager at one of our local Chevy dealers. Unfortunately, he lost his home, Hernandez told Automotive News. And so right now, what I'm doing is just trying to help the first responders like the Sheriff's Department and the Fire Department. All right, so really, really unfortunate stuff. And, in the coming days and weeks, we're going to find out about so much more. I know that they saw the article about they found a couple of dead people. So there has been some loss of life, and it's just tragic. I try to not get into any biblical ideas or stuff like that when it comes to these type of things. I believe that God is going to do what God does if God is involved at all. But it's tragic because we know that the fires started horribly and it's been getting worse and worse. But then there's all these stories about people out starting fires and getting arrested for starting fires and the looting that's going on, and it's just tragic. And the aftermath is always the worst, and that's always what I think about is the aftermath. The people who lose their homes and they're gonna have to find new homes. All the people whose cars burned up, they have to get new cars, get new furniture and everything, clothes, and it's just the horrible thing is for me, the comeback, because that is what really takes the time and takes the effort, and it's just horrible. There's nothing good you can say about this. All right, so we're going to check out a quick article because we're the Car Concierge show. We always talk about how it impacts cars, and there's a lot of cars out there just burnt up on the road, and it's and we've also been hearing, of course, the stories of those people who don't want their cars and decide that they're going to park their cars on Sunset Boulevard and leave them there so they can burn them up and collect the insurance. And if anybody who's in the know, they know how horrible insurance is right now, and the storylines behind the insurance companies leaving California in these certain areas before this happened, cutting insurance for people's homes and their vehicles before this happened. That's where your conspiracy mindset comes in. You start thinking like, did these people know something beforehand? Was this a planned event? These are the type of things you have to ask yourself, because there's such obvious points that you could point at to show that in some way, shape, or form somebody out there knew that this might happen. The insurance companies leaving, the state farms leaving that area, cutting people's insurance, just abruptly leaving. And then on top of that game, the Houston, Texas, LA Chargers game, it got moved to State Farm Stadium because it couldn't be done at the stadium out in LA. That coincidence? It's weird. It's weird. It seems like somebody out there hey, we got some Nostradamuses out here in the world. We know this. We know this. The people who had created The Simpsons. We know there's some people out there who have the ability to see the future. We know this to be true. But we're going to check out a story about people leaving cars on Sunset real quick. Then we're going to check out, I think, the mayor of Palisades. And we're going to get y'all out of here.
Legendary Sunset Boulevard is a nightmarish scene today, a graveyard of abandoned and incinerated cars. Millions of dollars worth of vehicles left behind in the desperate scramble to flee the fires consuming Pacific Palisades.
These are the cars that residents abandoned on Sunset Boulevard as they fled to safety, and you can see what happened overnight. The flames returned and these cars were incinerated. It got so hot that the metal on the cars literally melted.
The iconic street, which is the setting for the classic movie and Broadway hit, was the main route for tens of thousands of residents escaping the fires fueled by lashing 80-mile-an-hour winds.
The flames are being pushed down the mountainside, going from vehicle to vehicle, and now engulfing this building.
As traffic on Sunset Boulevard backed up in a gridlock crisis, people were faced with an agonizing decision.
Many of these residents were fleeing for their safety, and the traffic was so dense and the danger was so real. Many people were simply fleeing their cars. You could see all of these cars were literally abandoned by the residents.
Fire department bulldozers cut a path through the abandoned vehicles by ramming them haphazardly into each other. In mere minutes, one of the most famous streets on Earth had been turned into a junkyard.
Why? So that the fire crews could go in and put out these flames.
Despite their heroic efforts, the fires continued leaping from house to house. I found this distraught woman hyperventilating at the wheel of her car, unable to fathom the nightmare of destruction all around us.
The whole house is gone.
Sunset Boulevard, truly a boulevard of broken dreams.
Wow. All right, so it's horrible, and I have to be the one to say this. It's going to be an epidemic of available salvage cars out there. So you guys that's on the lookout for cheap cars, be very aware. It's sad. It's nothing positive that you get from this. One will say that the hope is that a lot of these people are going to get insurance payouts, but we know that's going to be hard to come by, specifically with all the insurances that just escaped California over the last couple of months. That is an epic story in itself. not really a car concierge story. You might do a maybe a quick story about the automotive policy situation out here. But you know, the whole situation with insurance out here in California has gone absolutely bonkers. They're removing people's insurance directly. Insurance companies are getting out of California completely, just abandoning California altogether. And the fact that it happened, you know, prior to this fire is just too coincidental. It's just one of those too coincidental things, you know. With the State Farm, man, I'm questioning them cats, man. That whole situation with them, you know, reducing and removing a lot of people's insurance out here in California, and then, you know, to the point where it gets them that football, that playoff game at their stadium because of the fires. It's crazy. It's crazy. Too much. It's conspiracy. But it's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. Now, key points. Please, people, be on the lookout for real cheap cars that are coming out of these fires. Look like most of them are too destroyed for anyway. But then again, we saw cars that were just getting pushed out the way. That, you know, probably gonna go to the picking pools in the areas and stuff like that. But of course, a couple of them gonna get scooped up by some backyard mechanic. They gonna, you know, throw that puppy back together, get it fixed up, and probably sell it to you. And in some cases, you'll be okay, and in most cases, not. Because, you know, a lot of these cars are going to suffer from massive smoke inhalation. You know, it's going to be all in the engine and then the seats and the interior. So that's going to be extremely hard to clean out. You know, fire damage is almost impossible to deal with. So you have to just replace parts in that situation. So it's, you know, just watch out for skeptical vehicles, you know, out in that way, and just be careful when you purchase cheap cars out that way these days. So, last but not least, we're going to check out the mayor. I think it was the mayor of Eaton. He was talking about all the devastation that's happened out there, you know, and we want to just get some direct perspective from somebody who's definitely there on the ground and knows what's happening in his city. Let's check it out.
Eaton fire burning over 14,000 acres near Pasadena. Let's bring in Pasadena Mayor Victor Gordo, who is outside the Rose Bowl Command Center for the agencies responding to the Eaton fire. Mr. Mayor, welcome.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
So tell us what's happening there outside the iconic Rose Bowl, so familiar to sports fans around the world.
Well, I think Max had it right. This is absolutely surreal. You know, not more than 10 days or so ago, we were celebrating pageantry. We were celebrating the best of parades and bringing in the new year with a great football game. Mm-hmm. And now here we are with complete devastation in our community surrounding the Rose Bowl and the community of Pasadena. Devastation is the only word to describe it, both human and property.
There have been questions about the water resources needed to fight those fires. Here's Governor Gavin Newsom on that issue, and I'll get you to respond.
All of us want to know those answers, and I just don't want to wait because people are asking me. I want to know those facts. I want them objectively determined, and that the chips fall where they may. This is not about finger pointing.
Mr. Mayor, how concerned are you about firefighters having the water resources they need?
Absolutely, they should have all the resources that they need. You know, this is an unprecedented fire. Combined with the windstorm, it just overwhelmed our system and the capacity of that system throughout the entire area. People had their hoses on. People were doing all that they could to save their own home. And of course, firefighters were fighting courageously. And it did have an impact on the water pressure. I don't think the issue was missing water. It was water pressure that was of concern, at least in the Eaton fire.
Okay.
And so we will continue to address that and update the system as well with the state.
I'm sure, as you know, a lot of residents in the hard-hit areas are expressing their frustration. I want to play that and get you to react to it, sir.
People in California, they were willing to pay high taxes. They were willing to support things that maybe they didn't necessarily agree with, because there was a basic assumption that underlined it all, that our government is here to take care of us. But now in a situation like this, when there's total mismanagement, when people are scared, when there's 0% containment, people are asking themselves the question, what did all those tax dollars go for?
Have you heard those concerns from your own residents, sir?
I have not, but certainly those are, very real emotions. I mean, this is an unprecedented fire. We were seeing gusts of 80 to 100 miles an hour combined with the fire on a sloping mountainside. The fire experts tell us, it was not only a dangerous situation and a volatile situation, but in many ways, our response was limited. We couldn't get airplanes up there. We couldn't get helicopters up there. Normally those would be the number one tools that we would employ in order to stop the fire in its tracks. And so we were limited to hand crews, fire trucks, fighting fire from the ground. And that certainly complicated things. I get it. People are frustrated. We are frustrated. But we're certainly turning the corner now that the wind has dropped. We are concerned about returning winds tomorrow that could be in the neighborhood of 30 to 50 miles an hour.
Mayor Victor Gordo of the beautiful community of Pasadena, California. God bless Pasadena. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, your viewers.
All right, so homie was trying his best to be extremely politically correct. He didn't want to, throw anybody under the bus and say anything extremely negative, even though that they tried to get him to. But the truth is that somebody dropped the ball. We know that. How is reservoirs empty of water? Why are why are people on vacation when things like this are happening? Why is everybody passing the buck on who's to blame on why water's not available? It's just you have to say that to some degree it's just California. California is a beautiful place, is a wonderful place with very wonderful people, but government-wise, we haven't been hitting the mark, as it were, on certain things. I'm trying, hear me trying to be politically correct. Places jacked up. Governor Newsom hasn't been doing a fantastic job when it comes to a lot of things, and those people dropped the ball. I can't understand the missing water. I can't understand any of these things. I'm with the kid. Who's to blame? Who's responsible? Who should have known? Where's this water that we needed? Water missing from a reservoir? You can't explain that one to me. I just don't. It just doesn't. It's baffling, and somebody has to answer to some questions. Somebody has to explain why these things happen. It's unfathomable, and it's caused a lot of devastation. Just like old boy said, devastation is the key word. And if they had more water or more facilities or whatever they needed, we wouldn't have got as much devastation. Could have stopped something, saved something. That's the whole thing. We can sit here and say, it's unprecedented, and nobody saw it coming, and it was in a bad place. But the fact that the resources weren't there to at least try to tackle the situation is extremely bad. And it's extremely unfortunate. And the fact that the fire is continuing to burn, this is what, the 12th? The fire continues to burn is a horribility in itself. So, prayers out to everybody over in the Los Angeles area, Palisades, Eden, all of those places that are in trouble. I pray that, you are able to come back from this tragic situation, that you are able to find new homes, get new vehicles, get new clothes, get new property, even if it's not in the same area where you lived before. Because at this point, with the knowledge that we have about fire seasons, maybe some areas shouldn't be lived in. And it's still beautiful California. All right, guys, I'm gonna let y'all get out of here. It's a beautiful day out here in the Central Coast. I would say I'm going to go out and enjoy it, but I have things to do to help others. So, have a beautiful day, my friends. Enjoy your Sunday as much as you can. Pray for those out in the California fire areas. And I'm out. Peace.